Currently 056 has requested access to the Intel SCP channel. I just don't think we'd be able to take it. Thankfully, this request was denied. Now go check out SCP Minecraft World Destroyer, SCP-4335 A Welt in the Crucible, and SCP-2430 Immortal Hitler Clone for more anomalies you really just want to punch in the face.
Mortal Solar Guard's self-harming technology means it sticks to almost any surface.
Don't worry, it's what...
We think of the SCP Foundation, we
It's another
imagine
giant.
dangerous SCP monsters. However, there are exceptions. Some anomalies appear as girls, with many of them being young and innocent.
Only felt comfortable enough to remain
It's
under the
another
water during
giant.
routine monitoring, though it retreated when attempts were made to study its composition. SCP-054 is apparently composed of normal water, with no detectable differences compared to ordinary spring water from the same source. No thermal, electromagnetic, biological, or other phenomenon has ever been detected in its body that would suggest how it animates. Water lost by SCP-054 to evaporation exhibits no special properties when condensed. Experiments with SCP-054 were halted following data expunged to researchers injured. After this incident, containment protocols were updated. Subject thereafter exhibited signs of mistrust and aggression around male personnel, which made up the majority of the original research staff. Subject reclassified Euclid. Partial transcripts. Audio Journal 054-A. Water loss experiment. Subject becomes withdrawn and inactive when denied access to water. Its compact shape is theorized to reduce surface area exposed to evaporation. For the first few days, it moved eagerly to greet anyone. SCP-032 is to be housed in automated containment 0.5 mole hydrogen chloride solution. I have no idea what will happen, but if this thing incorporates homeostatic mechanisms like I suspect...
Fast rewind. Rewind.
...entirely of water.
Here.
Other forms are possible.
Rewind.
In the event of a breach, the surrounding area should be evacuated. Item number SCP-054. Object class Safe. Special containment procedures. Subject is held in a watertight isolation room, outfitted with specialized climate control equipment. An ornate fountain filled with water stands in the center of the enclosure. Maintenance personnel are required to wear NBC suits while inside the containment area, and must spend 10 minutes in a special drying room after exiting. In the event of a breach, the surrounding area should be evacuated, and the enclosure flushed with liquid nitrogen. The fountain's chemical levels and volume are to be monitored and maintained. Spring water from should be used as SCP-054 is highly sensitive to hydrological conditions. SCP-054 has developed a mistrust for human males during its confinement. Thus, assignment of female personnel is recommended. Description. Out of the water, the subject most often appears as a female humanoid, with a mean volume of 90 liters, comprised entirely of water. Other forms are possible, commonly geometric shapes. When it enters a body of water, it becomes indistinguishable from its surroundings. The subject must periodically return to a body of water in order to maintain its volume due to evaporation. Initially found it was moved to Site-08 for further study. Subject was initially curious about Foundation personnel, and seemed to enjoy interacting with maintenance staff and researchers, and mimicking their forms. After a number of weeks, the creature apparently felt comfortable enough to remain out of the water during routine monitoring, though it retreated when attempts were made to study its composition. SCP-054 is a puzzles. Dr. Seskel has finally overcome the problem of motivating the subject by the application of electrical shocks and/or silica desiccants. He joked that we should have it trained to fetch in no time, and after observing his methods, I think he might be right. Note: subject to be allowed a 48-hour recuperation period. It seemed to be lacking in its progress at the end of the week's experiments. Acid Base Incorporation experiment. Last log entry. I am starting with a 0.5 mole hydrogen chloride solution. I have no idea what will happen, but if this thing incorporates homeostatic mechanisms like I suspect, then we should get some insight into how it maintains its form. Temperature in the enclosure has been lowered to 278 Kelvin to help control 54's increasingly erratic behavior. Addendum 054B. After 5 years with no incidents, subject rating has been downgraded to safe.
It has never joined.
Recommendation of Dr. Experiments will resume under the auspices of Biology Unit E7. Caution should still be exercised when interacting with subject. Item number SCP-032. Object class Euclid. Special containment SCP-032. The first thing they did, after creating me, was to show her to me. It's not something they often do. Dr. Kovac, I don't follow. SCP-032. Interfere with those who passed beyond their halls. They might be vengeful, spiteful, even cruel, but they take their duties very seriously. Just to show her to me, to risk disturbing her final rest, they wouldn't do that without a purpose. Dr. Kovac, and SCP-032. She was beautiful, so peaceful, serene, whole, even gone, even dead. I could see the essence of who she used to be, of who she still was, and forever will be. Her soul. They told me she didn't get to live for all that long, but when she lived, she was herself. She was alive, and so I hated her. SCP-032, do you know what it feels like to be made as a mockery? In every line of that smooth, silent face, I saw a twisted reflection in my own. Fragrant skin to molded plastic, soft hair to synthetic fiber, blood to oil, soul to nothing at all. Dr. Kovac, excuse me if this sounds...
Let's head back to my room. May as well. Head back to my room, head to bed, wake up in the morning. Another day at this facility. The fuck? Can I get it, please? Can I get this book? I'm curious. Can I get this fucking book, please? Shit. Finally. Let's go. Let's go back to the higher level containment zone. Here we are, back at the crib. Where's the fucking book, dude? I swear I had the book, I swear. I picked up a book. Well, it disappeared on me. Fuck it. Head to bed. 7 in the morning. Let's head out to the courtyard.
When SCP-105
Let's have another join.
photograph taken by SCP-105-B, the photograph changes from a still image to that of a real-time image of the location in question. SCP-105 is also able to reach through the photograph and manipulate objects within reach of the original point at which the photograph was taken. Persons witnessing this manipulation report seeing a disembodied female hand, determined to be that of SCP-105, reaching out from an invisible portal and carrying out the actions indicated. SCP-105-B and the photographs taken by said camera have no unusual properties when used by any other person. SCP-105 has demonstrated limited ability to manipulate objects through other photographs, but can only achieve fine control using photographs taken through SCP-105-B. So far, SCP-105 has only been able to significantly advance her ability by using photographs taken by SCP-105-B. Appendix 1. Circumstances of acquisition. SCP-105 was brought to the Foundation's attention shortly after the murder of her boyfriend. SCP-105 claimed to have been on the phone with the victim at the time of his murder, prompting her to hurry to his side. However, telephone records did not correspond to her story, making her suspect in the murder. SCP-105 informed her lawyer that she had, in fact, witnessed the murder through a photograph she had taken with her boyfriend several days prior. The attorney in question disregarded the story and recommended that the subject plead guilty. Subject refused to do so and subsequently told her story in court, offering to demonstrate her ability. This led to Foundation contact. Subject was immediately contained by the Foundation. Foundation personnel retrieved SCP-105-B from SCP-105's home, replacing it with an identical model, and returned it to her. SCP-105's parents were informed that she was killed during the botched escape of another patient, while both were in custody of a psychiatric care facility. Appendix 2. Excerpt from Interview Log 105-08-4426. Begin log. Doctor, please give a brief personal introduction, including date and place of birth, and your name. SCP-105. Okay. My name is Iris Thompson. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona on May 12th.
Ever struggled with hair loss, but not sure what works?
Fuck off.
Over 30,000 Aussie men have had
Okay. My name is Iris Thompson. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona on May 12th. Doctor. Good. First question. When did you become aware of your abilities? SCP-105. I'm not sure, but I think I was either 10 or 11. I remember because I was looking at a picture of the ocean, and I noticed that the waves began moving. Doctor, how did your parents respond when you told them? SCP-105. They just said that I had an overactive imagination. Doctor, when did you discover that you were able to manipulate objects through a photograph? SCP-105. It first happened when I was 11, 12 maybe. My family took a trip to the Grand Canyon. I looked through the photo album after we got home and brushed my hand up against one by accident. When I did, I pushed a rock over the edge, falling into the canyon. I could actually hear it clatter on the way down. Doctor, go on. SCP-105. I became fascinated with photography after that. Most of the time, it didn't work with photographs I took, but my parents got me a Polaroid One-Step Express camera. I'd been begging for them to get it since Christmas. SCP-105 starts smiling. After I got the camera, the photos got easier to interact with. Doctor, this is the camera we refer to as 105-B? Your personal camera? SCP-105. Yes, sir. Doctor, how many photos can you focus on at one time? SCP-105. I've gotten up to 10 at once with my personal camera, but I'm sure I could do more eventually. Doctor, what is your impression of your time with the Foundation so far? SCP-105 remains silent. Doctor, please do answer. We don't take offense at these things. SCP-105. It's sort of like new prison, new warden, but I know it's better than what could have happened to me. Doctor, you've been very cooperative during your time here. SCP-105. I'm a pretty well-behaved sort of person. I also like doing the experiments. Some of those things with photographs I never would have thought of. Doctor, do you know why I'm asking you these questions, Iris? SCP-105. No, sir. Doctor, we've been setting up a special program. If it goes through, you'll be occasionally allowed to leave the site and move about in the outside world. All we ask of you in return are a few favors. Are you interested? End log. Addendum 3. History of service with Mobile Task Force Omega-7. SCP-105 was the second humanoid SCP recruited to Mobile Task Force Omega-7 under the Pandora's Box Initiative. Unlike Team Able, associated with SCP-076-2, which was assigned to strike and capture operations, Team Iris had the primary mission of reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Team Iris carried out over 20 missions in cooperation with the Bowie Commission. These missions were carried out swiftly and without incident. The first disciplinary incident involving SCP-105 involved the escalation of Team Iris missions from reconnaissance to wet work. SCP-105 violently opposed the use of her abilities to carry out assassinations, even after members of the Bowie Commission repeatedly attempted to secure her cooperation. During these events, SCP-105 became emotionally distressed and attempted to deceive Foundation personnel into believing that her anomalous traits had disappeared. Dr. D submitted a report recommending that SCP-105 be reclassified as neutralized, undergo amnestic treatment, and be released to the public with regular monitoring. This recommendation was denied. Following this, Dr. D aided SCP-105 in a containment breach, aiming to escape Foundation custody. This breach was unsuccessful, and SCP-105 was recontained. Investigation afterwards determined that Dr. D had intentionally encouraged SCP-105 to claim loss of anomalous abilities. SCP-105 re-demonstrated her anomalous abilities in exchange for restoration of limited privileges. Following the end of the Pandora's Box initiative, all Mobile Task Force Omega-7 teams were disbanded, and SCP-105 was returned to Site-17. Because of the security risk she represents and lack of current utility, SCP-105 is presently not allowed access to SCP-105-B. All further information regarding Mobile Task Force Omega-7 is sealed by order of the Records and Information Security Administration. Director, Records and Information Security Administration. Addendum 4. Special notice regarding current containment status. Many formal and informal reports have been made regarding SCP-105 and a supposed connection to Mobile Task Force Alpha-9. These reports constitute a serious breach of security. All information regarding Mobile Task Force Alpha-9 is restricted. All information regarding current research on anomalous characteristics of SCP-105 is restricted. All reports or rumors regarding any current or recent use of SCP-105 as a Foundation asset are to be considered categorically false and should be reported to the Records and Information Security Administration. Director, Records and Information Security Administration. Welcome to Scp Orientation. Your training is about to begin. Today, we will be studying item number SCP-166. Object Class Euclid.
Meet Jessica, an outgoing girl looking for a great night out. The problem? She's tired of doing the same old...
Fuck off.
Special Containment Procedures. SCP-166 is contained in Biocontainment Zone C at Site-19, which has been modified to include a hermetically sealed antechamber and an industrial-strength air purifier. Containment staff must wear the specially designated 166 biohazard suits at all times when inside SCP-166's containment area. Due to SCP-166's unique physiological needs, a variety of loose-fitting organic cotton clothing has been provided, to be rotated monthly. All meals are to be cooked according to the guidelines provided, with as little inorganic additives as possible. Reasonable requests for personal items and modifications to the containment suite may be granted upon approval by a level 4 or higher authority. Update. All requests by SCP-166 must be approved personally by Site Director Light. To date, SCP-166 has requested a copy of the Holy Bible, Douay Rheims, Challoner Revision. Granted. A Catholic Rosary. Granted. Access to a Catholic priest for confession, Mass, and other sacraments. Chaplain Davis has been scheduled to meet with SCP-166 on alternating Sundays, after a thorough decontamination process. Various books and magazines, mostly religious in nature. Granted, pending review and approval of contents. A telephone, with which to contact the abbess of the Our Lady of Mercy Convent in County Galway, Ireland. Denied by Site Director. Description. SCP-166 is a European female human in its late teens, with ungulate features. possessing antlers, hooved feet, and a short tail, reminiscent of Rangifer tarandus, common reindeer. Despite these obvious abnormalities, DNA analysis reveals no abnormal genetic traits. Within a 15-meter radius of SCP-166, artificial objects gradually return to an unworked state. Higher complexity objects like electronics or vehicles are affected quicker, with degradation of their metallic components causing catastrophic structural failure in a matter of hours. Rudimentary materials, such as stone buildings or products made of organic materials, decay at a virtually imperceptible rate. Within the same radius, plant life will begin to sprout, often growing in improbable places, such as out of security cameras or ID scanners. SCP-166 possesses a possibly anomalous sensitivity to artificial material and pollutants, with inhalation or contact causing pressure ulcers and symptoms of acute asthma attacks. In one case, physical proximity to a smoker caused SCP-166 to undergo a severe asthma attack, even though the doctor at the time had not smoked a cigarette for 3 weeks. Discovery. SCP-166 was discovered at the Our Lady of Mercy Convent in County Galway, Ireland, where it had lived since infancy. SCP-166 was confirmed by a defecting Global Occult Coalition agent to be the child of Threat Entity 9927 Black, the Goddess, also known as SCP, who was terminated by a GOC strike team in what would be known as the Cornwall Incident. Recovered GOC documentation. Threat ID KTE-9927-Blackchild. The daughter. Authorized response level 4. Severe threat. Description. Threat entity is the child of incarnated LTE-9927 Black, the Goddess, and an unknown father. While it strongly resembles its mother and shares its animalistic features, it lacks the extreme bestial appearance of 9927 Black, possesses minor chlorokinetic abilities, but primary reason for threat entity classification is the instinctive knowledge and eligibility to enact occult procedure Clockwork Blackchild Havilah, a worldwide ritual working that would irreversibly regress human civilization to Neolithic standards. Strike Team Lancelot neutralized 9927 Black in England during an operation which would later be known as the infamous Cornwall Incident, but were unable to confirm the liquidation of 9927 Blackchild due to the death of the strike leader, Agent Ukulele. Ukulele was posthumously awarded the Silver Aegis for his lifelong service to humanity. Liquidation. Threat entity is not known to possess any defensive abilities. Terminate with extreme prejudice. The agent had refused to terminate SCP-166, instead smuggling it to a Catholic convent in County Galway, Ireland. It lived there until the age of 12, at which point a visitor to the convent accidentally witnessed SCP-166 and reported it to authorities. The agent then contacted the Foundation, agreeing to share GOC intelligence in return for the guaranteed safety and containment of SCP-166. Further details are classified. Addendum 166.1. Chaplain Davis Bi-Weekly Interview. Davis. Good morning, child.
Oh, shit.
SCP-166. Good morning, Father. Davis. As usual, I have to remind you that due to our environment, the seal of confession will not take place unless specifically invoked. Even then, details of our conversation can't be unsealed if they're determined to be essential. Understand? SCP-166 nods. Davis. Excellent. Now, how are you doing? SCP-166. Good. One of the staff told me about Benedict yesterday. Is that true? Davis. Yes. That was rather unfortunate, but it does make sense. He was rather old even when he first took up the position. Now he can rest, knowing he served the church well. SCP-166. Do you know who's going to replace him? Davis. Speculation has abounded. but it could be anyone. These are difficult times after all, with all the recent controversies. They may want a fresh face to represent the church, or they may go with a man who's dedicated years of his life. Who knows? They may even pick a working class man. It certainly would give people something to talk about. SCP-166. I guess so. SCP-166 and Davis fall silent. Davis, I'm sensing a question arising, child. SCP-166. Sorry. Davis, no need to apologize. That is what I'm here for, after all. What is it? SCP-166. It's just, I wanted to ask you something, though it might be a little personal. I was just wondering, do you have a good relationship with your parents? Davis. My mother, yes. Before she passed away, I visited her once a month at their retirement home, plus her birthday and holidays. Told her I was a chaplain serving in the military, which I suppose is somewhat close to the truth. SCP-166. And your father? Davis. That is a rather more complicated question. He was a good man, a soldier, who held three things dearly: God, country, and family. Unfortunately, he held those convictions rather severely, which resulted in some heated discussions. I love him still, but this way is best for everyone. Davis sighs. Davis, and what about your parents? I know you lived in the convent, but before that? SCP-166. I never really knew them. I got dropped off when I was a baby. I mean, I guess they must have known the sisters if they put me there, but I don't remember them. Just what I picked up. They mentioned my mother a bit, before they realized that they should watch what they say about me. I think they said something about her being a goddess, which obviously wouldn't be true. She must have been some sort of spirit, but she must have been something if I ended up looking like this. SCP-166 gestures to herself. SCP-166. I remember eavesdropping on the Abyss. She was talking to one of the other sisters about how she had done something wrong. Something about a ritual that someone else stopped. They said she died. Davis, I'm sorry for your loss. SCP-166. Not like I knew her. Davis. And your father? SCP-166 hesitates. SCP-166. I don't know. He must have been the one who dropped me off at the convent. But why there? Why didn't he take me with him? Davis. I'm sure he had his reasons. SCP-166. Maybe. You know, they never talked about him. Not once. I must have asked the Abbess 1,000 times, but she never even mentioned a hint of him. SCP-166 pauses. SCP-166. If my mother was so horrible, what did my father do? End log. Addendum 166.2. Disciplinary interview of expunged. Begin log. Light. What the hell were you thinking? Expunged. I wanted to make sure she's all right. You wouldn't let me talk to her. I took another route. Light. What you did was so much worse than that. If you just stuck to throwing your weight around to get her amenities, sure, I could overlook that. But you then go about trying to give a Class 4 anomaly a phone line to the outside world. Damn it. The Council already dislikes you working at the same site as her. This gets out, you can kiss whatever deal you made goodbye. Expunged. Come on, Sophia. She's harmless. The only reason she's in there is because of me. I had to do something. Was the Foundation just going to let her grow up thinking that her... Light. Before you say another word, remember that this will be public to everyone with a Class 4 clearance. I can redact your name, but I can't stop people from putting the pieces together from an ill-timed outburst. Expunged remains silent. Expunged. 16 years. 16 years where she couldn't walk through a city, or catch a movie, or just go shopping. Doesn't matter if she's in a convent or a Foundation cell. She's being locked up for something she had no choice in. All because of me. It isn't fair. Light. I know. Expunged. And I can't do anything about it. I could send a strike team anywhere in the world. I know secrets that the most powerful people in the world would pay billions for. And yet I can't even so much as talk to her. Let her know that she's not alone. Light, you've done the best you could. Much more than anyone could have expected of you in an impossible situation. Expunged. Funny how little that makes of a difference. Expunged falls silent. Expunged. You know, I don't care. Just write me up. Let's just get this over with. Light, I'm scheduling you for 6 two-hour sessions with a Foundation psychologist. I'll make sure it's glass. He signs off at the end of it. We can expunge this from your record. I know. Thank you, Sophia. End log. On 05/08/2013, the following note was discovered within SCP-166's containment area. I first met your mother when we were little more than children. She had hooves for feet and starlight in her eyes. She was beauty and nature incarnate, and I killed her with my own 2 hands. Eden isn't a place. It's a state of being. They wanted to take us back to it, and I stopped them. I took paradise away from us for a second time. I have never regretted my actions on that day, except one. That when you first met me on that day, you saw your father put a bullet into the head of your mother. I make no excuses, only explanation. You may not have even remembered it, but I'm telling you now in the hope you understand why I did what I did. I hope you forgive me. I love you. I wish I could have done more for you. The best I could do was leave you in the hands of kind and loving people, and hope they would raise you in my place. From what I've seen, they did well. I'm sorry you couldn't stay with them. I'm sorry they brought you to this place. I promise to do my best to make sure your stay here is pleasant. I promise to keep you safe. Happy 16th birthday. From your loving father. Item number SCP-114. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-114 is kept in a 10-meter cubed standard concrete humanoid containment cell at Site-17. The cell is positioned at the bottom of a 40-meter shaft to prevent staff members from coming into the proximity and a meters tall. SCP-114 has the involuntary effect of fostering and escalating violent conflict between all individuals in her proximity. Subjects within 10 to 15 meters of SCP-114 become inconsolably aggressive at trivialities or points of little consequence, often to the degree of projecting hostile motives on others. Arguments generally arise between individuals. Researchers have gleaned that SCP-114 is unaware of her effect on other people. She shows little to no response to exposure to violence, and seems to be under the impression that human beings are naturally aggressively hostile to each other. SCP-114 is consistently unresponsive and uncooperative with researchers, and appears to be acutely wary of human interaction. Due to the difficulty of communication with SCP-114, psychological evaluations act with SCP-114. After 75 seconds of exposure, D-8543 verbally requested a cigarette from D-1269. D-1269 responded with negative. D-8543 proceeded to shove D-1269 against the wall of the test room. Subjects began fighting, with apparent intent to kill. Subjects ignored with orders to kill her. Results: D-100